Hello and welcome to the Bitcoin.review podcast, where we explore developments and projects with the people who actually make them happen. The show is supported by Pod 2.0, SAT Streaming, and Coinkite. If you're a new listener, I'm NVK. I run Coinkite, where we've been helping people secure their Bitcoins for over a decade. We make the COLDCARD and fun products like the block clock. You can find more information about it on Coinkite.com. Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin.review, where we are not a podcast, we're just a therapy for people who like software and have opinions about software. Most of the opinions in the show are fully correct and any other opinions are not correct. So starting with that, I have a fun panel today. Mr. Rijndael, welcome back.
Hey, great to be back.
Mr. Rijndael was at the BTC++. Is that doxing? No, not anymore.
No, it was awesome. Yeah, I gave a talk and I was on a panel. June Seth called me a shitcoiner a bunch.
Oh, so you're Rio now.
Oh yeah, I'm a real person now.
Once you gave a talk and you're on a panel in a Bitcoin conference, like that's it. Like, you are part of consensus.
Yeah, haters will say it's fake.
Mr. Odell, welcome back.
Good to be here. Thanks for not doing a morning show for me.
Hey, listen, anytime. We are happy to accommodate your precious needs.
For what it's worth, I'm also making a sacrifice. I'm doing a double header. So right after this, I'm doing a Citadel Dispatch.
Oh boy, I don't know how you're going to survive 3 hours of this plus that. You can do it. Mr. Steve, welcome back, sir.
Thanks for having me on again. Looking forward to it. I've been on the warpath the past few weeks on miner centralization, Bolt 12, what else? Ossification, or not. Team slow and steady.
Okay. We may get to it.
Would love to.
Mr. Paul, welcome back, future Paul.
Hello.
Nice mic cover there.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It means you're like a real podcaster or something.
I am.
Well, Paul was a podcaster before all of us.
I know.
I invented podcasting.
You practically did.
I don't know if Paul remembered, but me and Paul bonded on Twitter over the Internet of Shit tweet I did many years ago when he was also shitting on all those IoT devices.
I have a podcast episode with Internet of Shit, who turns out loves IoT devices in his home.
Everyone is a LARP.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is a LARP. So guys, we have a full list here, but I'm just going to do a little housekeeping. Coinkite is looking for a very, very, very technical writer to update and maintain COLDCARD's docs. This would be a part-time gig for someone looking to own them for years. Apply at jobs at coinkite.com with some work samples and links. Man, maintaining docs is an arduous job, especially when you have the amount of features that's in there. It's brutal.
It's tough, but if you find an actual technical writer who likes doing that, they're orders of magnitude better than having the devs do it.
Well, I mean, he also left out what the pay is, so.
No, it's pay. It's like market price.
You get paid in sats cards.
No. So the funny thing is, and I think like most projects work like that. We write the docs often as we make the features, right? But the problem is it grows, right? Like, because we write a lot of features. So then there's a lot of shit. And then the versions change and then maintain it. Hopefully, I mean, the problem is most technical writers don't seem to be as technical as they need to be. So then we need to correct everything. And then it's double work, which is not great. So anyways, and who knows, maybe this person is good enough. They come work. And then if we have spare time and he's actually full time, maybe he can do FOSS sort of document maintenance for other projects. Who knows? No promises. But come on, do stuff.
Did you write the copy?
Oh, it was a tweet. It was my tweet. This is what my tweets sound like for real.
I came to ask the hard questions.
I know.
Way to good job speaking truth to power there.
Mm-hmm. By the way, not a sponsor. This sparkling water here. I think I finally figured out the best beverage to have because all the other ones have like really bad chemicals on them. This one has even probiotic. Yes. Maybe they can send us some free. See, Odell, this is how you get sponsors that are not related to Bitcoin. Anyways, guys, let's start this list. Mr. Rijndael, it's not here on the list, but you want to give us a little bit of a review of BTC++. A lot happened there. Actually, nothing happened there. A lot was talked there.
I mean, some stuff happened. People did write some code. I need to follow up with Ben Carmen. He was working on something with DLCs using opcat, and I'm going to help him like debug that code probably tomorrow. But yeah, it was a couple days in Austin. I guess Nifty picks a theme every year, and so this theme was all about Bitcoin script. So there were, a lot of talks about doing interesting things in script. I gave a talk about using opcat to build covenants. I used a vault as like an example, but I walked through mechanically how you use cat with Schnorr signatures to build up covenants. We had like a covenants panel. Rob Hamilton gave a whole deep dive on Miniscript. There were talks about ARC. There was a talk from Lalu about using covenants to validate like Taproot asset transfers. So just lots of interesting scripting stuff. There was a VLS talk that was there. Jesse Posner gave a talk about Frost. So just lots of like really interesting Bitcoin scripting stuff. The two talks that I think, or the one proposal that I saw get a lot of passing around on Twitter was Rusty Russell gave this talk for what he calls the script restoration project. So the premise is, turn on all of the deactivated opcodes. So in Bitcoin like 0.3, Satoshi turned off a whole bunch of opcodes responding to this like CVE in 2010. And we never really went back and like looked at it and decided to turn them back on. So the idea is that you wouldn't want to just turn all of them back on, and do nothing else, because you could construct scripts that would be prohibitively expensive for people to validate and would create like DDoS.
Let's bring back op-eval.
Yeah. Well, so that one wasn't turned off. That one never existed. Right. But it's like multiply, left shift, right shift, variable length integers, so we can do like real arithmetic on amounts, things like that. And so a big part of the proposal is to have, right now we have like a SigOps budget. You can only do so many signature operations per block. The idea is that we would have a variable operations budget. So different operations that can take, variable amount of compute in order to validate would have like a budget based on what the worst case performance of them would be. So like multiplying two big numbers together is worse than adding two big numbers together. And the idea is that we would have this budget of kind of like how many primitive operations can you do per block. And then if we bound that, then you can turn on all these other opcodes. And a lot of the other proposals that people have made over the years end up just being redundant if we just like have better native scripting. So that was kind of like the idea that Rusty came with, and it got a lot of, attention and a lot of discussion. I think the variable ops thing is interesting, and it's something that we can, do a bunch of work on modeling. And then there were also kind of less spicy talks like, opcat, miniscript, bunch of stuff about Lightning, etc. So it was great. It was a lot of fun.
You see that I put that in the vulnerabilities disclosure part of the show?
Oh, is that where you put it? I have to refresh the page.
No, I put you there.
Oh, okay. I'm the vulnerability. Got it.
This proposal is really fun. Ben gave me like a rundown on this. I missed the conference, but I've gotten a lot of recaps from him. But it seems like, there's basically kind of like two sort of paths right now of people who want soft forks. There's basically, let's do a soft fork that's highly targeted at a very specific application like covenants, and like we'll get the one minimal change that would take to get covenants. And then there's kind of the other direction, like let's get like low level primitives, and we can build applications on those. And if some application is popular, then at that point we can decide, okay, this could be made a lot more efficient with like a single opcode. Now we can discuss that. And part of the reasoning around those lines is like there's kind of a feeling that something like BitVM might enable the like worst case scenario, least efficient way to do absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And so if we start seeing these applications show up that are using BitVM and doing things in a hyper inefficient way, that might be, some impetus towards like, okay, can we make this more efficient?
Odell, you had the head shake there. I'm curious.
I would just add that Nifty is a fucking legend. I'm grateful for Base 58 and the series of Bitcoin Plus Plus events. All of these talks, most of the talks, are available online. It was streamed and recorded, and you can get it on YouTube, I believe.
Yeah, so there's like the contiguous 6-hour long like live stream recording is up there now. And then they're working on chopping them up for kind of individual talks.
Cool.
So in probably another week or two, you'll be able to go and just watch a video that's, 30 minutes or 40 minutes for a specific talk. Right now, you can see all of the talks, but you might have to kind of scroll through a 6-hour video to find the right spot.
And I just wanted to add what my head shake was about is people do exist. I think the overwhelming majority of Bitcoiners are the silent majority that don't want ossification and don't want like complete dev clown show, like everything, bang everything against the wall and see what kind of graffiti shows up. There's a middle ground in between.
Where is the middle, Odell? Where is the line? Where is the line?
Incredibly conservative, slow. I like what Steve said. A team slow and steady. Just very conservative, slow and steady development. And iterate over time.
From talking to people recently, I gotta say the divergence of preferences, ideas, and just the lack of also talks about how to even activate things going forward. Like, it really leads me to think that I don't think we see anything consensus changing at least another 5 years. I think but what matters is like, I don't care. I don't care either way. Like, it could be great, it not be great. Bitcoin is working. The point is not that. The point is like, where does the energy that all this creative, talented people get pointed to and explode towards, right? Because see, the last time this happened, we got Ethereum. Okay. So like, I'm just curious, like, like, where do you guys think it goes if these people cannot sort of like, not bust a nut for another 5 years? Who wants to go first?
Well, I would add, I'm kind of with you that regardless of my personal views, I think like Bitcoin is probably harder to change than it's ever been. But I would also add a caveat that if you go back and listen to the podcasts or somehow find my old tweets after I deleted my account, I didn't, like, Taproot caught me off guard. Speedy Trial caught me off guard. Like, I didn't think it was going to get merged so easily.
I don't know. Like, for Taproot, I was pretty certain it was. Like, there was no opposition. And I think a lot of people were either sort of like not paying attention or got bamboozled. No, I mean, like, it's great change. Like, don't get me wrong. I wanted it. But I don't think the market, I think everybody was so apathetic because of UASF and the body scars that people had from UASF, that like, people just like, please don't tell me about the new activation. Yes, sure, go ahead. Do the devs like it? Yes, okay, go ahead. I think it's going to be the complete opposite this time.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think we're probably going to see a consensus change inside of 5 years. I don't want to like predict when it's gonna be, because I'll be wrong.
I want a block number.
Yeah, right. But I think what's the risk here, right, is like I don't think the current set of consensus rules that we have are going to support like widespread non-custodial Lightning. And I think for people who have a big bag of like on-chain Bitcoin, people want things like reactive security. And so like, I think the thing that people don't want to have happen is it takes too long to come to consensus on any, like, people say, all right, we'll wait for simplicity or something.
Not going to happen.
Which never happens, right? It's always 50 years out. Like whatever it is, it's always 50 years out.
I think it's at 110,000 diff now.
Yeah, right. So like it's never going to happen. And so if that's the thing that people are holding out for, then I think what ends up happening is just like Bitcoin becomes more custodial over time. And the next like marginal users of Bitcoin just say like, all right, I'll just like hold this in an ETF.
Or eCash.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Like I think it's gonna become harder to be a custodial Bitcoin service provider in the Western world over the next couple of years than it's going to become easier.
Steve.
Yep. I mean, I agree with the points Rijndael just mentioned. Although I still don't see which consensus change or which proposal actually delivers that. I mean, I've done some study this year on timeout trees. I like some things about it, but have concerns as well as other solutions. But as far as consensus changes, yeah, I am on AJ Town's slow and steady approach. He wrote a recent blog post about it. I actually think if we took the entire Bitcoin community, not just devs, but investors and business owners, everyone, and they were informed of all the details, I think most would be on team slow and steady, actually, as opposed to the extremes. Like if we define ossification as literally no changes, I mean, I just went on Stefan Libera to talk about that specific issue as a follow-up to like the Odell Saylor spat around funding, dev funding and changes.
Which of Odell's spats?
and Jack's.
The Tuesday one.
I've only had 2 major spats.
But Steve, hang on a second. Like all the ossification people I know, even the most hardcore people, are totally fine with updating Bitcoin Core so it works on the next version of macOS, right? Like they're all fine with like, soft, like all the standardness things. You may argue about it, but nobody can fucking do shit about that. So like, updating Core for non-consensus rules, I'm pressed to find anybody who's against it.
Yeah, you call it like gardening, right?
Yeah, it's gardening, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even the people who like are against that know that there's fuck nothing they can do except for the guy who wants zero conf back. But but seriously, like I think like,
You mean the guy with the wallet?
yes, no, it doesn't. Does it work?
I don't know.
Oh,
It's not allowed for Americans.
right. So anyways, but my point is like, like I don't like the way the conversation is going on Twitter or general anyways, like in general right now, Bitcoin is supposed to like, team A versus team B, because we're just reproducing the shittiness of the legacy system. And like the ossification people have no issues with like updating the client in general. Like, of course there's going to be 1 or 2 people who might have a problem with that too, but they can't do shit about that.
I want to be clear here.
Yeah.
It's not an Odell Saylor spat. There was 2 Nostr posts. They were very deliberate in how they were worded.
Nobody listens to this podcast, so you don't have to clarify it.
All my Nostr notes for the last 8 months have been caps. So first of all, like people were like, he was ranting in caps about it. I do that every day. The notes were very clear. Saylor is against funding open source contributors. He thinks overwhelmingly that any money going to open source contributors, regardless if it's gardening, outside of consensus stuff, all that, is a net negative. He's actively campaigning about that privately. I believe if someone asked him publicly, he would say the same thing. I don't think that is necessarily controversial. I just think people should be aware of it and people should talk to him about it, instead of having, an hour, 10-hour podcast with him where it's just all softballs. They should ask the question, and it shouldn't be private discussions about that. And Steve has been involved in funding open source contributors. Rodolfo has been involved in funding open source contributors. I obviously have been heavily involved in funding open source contributors through OpenSats. It is an uphill battle without one of the largest public Bitcoin holders going around telling people not to do it. Like, it's a huge uphill battle. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us are exhausted, and the devs we're funding and supporting are exhausted. And the exhaustion is real, and people should be aware of that. But this whole idea, like, the internet likes to make it's like, oh, there's always a fight between two people or whatever.
Wait, are you Kendrick or are you Drake?
Well, clearly Kendrick. But there's no spat. I want to be clear.
There were shootings at his house this morning, at Drake's house. It was all over the news. Anyways, diffusing this for a second here. I have asked Sailor point blank in DMs, and the point has some nuance, and I think the internet doesn't help with that. I don't know if the nuance was provided in how the information got around, but the point is,
he should talk about it.
And I understand the point. The point is, when you fund engineers, okay, to just do shit, they're going to come up with shit to engineer, right? Like, and that can be great and that can be bad. The point is, that introduces risk, right? Some people are extremely risk adverse based on their preferences, right? Like, listen, the funding to FOSS will continue regardless of what these people want or don't want. So I think I tried to make that very clear.
I don't think that's true.
I don't think there is an issue with that.
I don't think that. I mean, it's literally hanging on by a thread, and the thread is called Jack Dorsey. Like, I'm grateful that he continues to support OpenSats and continues to support Spiral with no strings attached. Like, legit. Jack has never told us what to do. Period.
I don't know, man. He sends me lists.
Fuck you, MBK. That's how rumors start.
I'm joking.
I'm incredibly grateful to him, but like we're hanging on by a thread, and OpenSat specifically, like, can't have a single donor. Like, we need to have diverse funding, otherwise we lose our 501c3 status eventually. And it's a real problem. It's not like the biggest fear I have, and I think it's important to be an open book and try and build out in the open. That's what open source developers do. And it's important to adopt that ethos. I think it's always stronger to build in the open. But one of the issues I had, which is I think it was important for us to announce the most recent Jack Dorsey donation.
Yes.
But part of it is like people see it and they're like, okay, well, Jack handled it. Now I don't need to do anything. And that's a negative. That's a major negative. But it's also important that we disclose it and we're very clear that it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I voiced this before, even internally. Like, I struggle with philanthropy versus markets because philanthropy can skew markets, and it can give us the wrong things that lead us to bad things too. So I don't think it's clear cut. Like, my ideal is you have core devs with clear incentives working for companies that fund their lives, and they integrate the things that the market through their salaries dictate to do. Is it nice to have researchers doing things non-string attached? Absolutely. It's just that, philanthropy can cause a lot of fucking damage. It can prevent new players from coming in. It's like, should we still do it? Absolutely. But I'm saying it's not like, perfect and beautiful and consequence free.
We don't live in a vacuum. And the way I see it, the regulatory environment today that we live in is a little bit overplayed in terms of an attack on self-custody users, in my opinion. I think most self-custody users...
It's totally fine.
...will be fine. I think most regulated businesses will be completely fine. The Strikes of the world, the Coinbases of the world, the Cash Apps of the world, they have all their MSBs, they have their money licenses, their KYC to the kazoo of all the users. They'll be fine. What I see is an attack on founders trying to build profitable freedom tech businesses that don't collect personal identifiable information and try and monetize it. And as a result, it is an attack on founders, and it's an attack on the ability to monetize open source software. And as a result, the only real response we have is to provide no strings attached funding to open source contributors that are not necessarily directly monetizing their projects. It's the unfortunate reality because we do not live in a vacuum.
I agree. If I may, I want to respond on many things here that were just discussed.
Go ahead, Steve.
So, first of all, I thanks Odell for the non-spat nudge to me because I believe I've engaged Sailor since then. First of all, I listened to his 3-hour podcast with Livera to understand his position and Bitcoin's the granite underneath Manhattan. I largely agree with everything he said in that podcast. He just didn't go into the details of software changes. So I went on Livera and talked about the more of the nuances and details of software changes. I then spoke with him, and I think he's far more aligned with me, and I suspect most of us here on this call, than was just was just discussed.
Oh, we lost Steve.
Sailor pulled the plug.
Sailor pulled the plug.
There you go.
We lost you, Steve.
I know. I'm out. So I am hopeful to, and I shared some projects with him that he actually agreed are valuable and need dev funding. So I still have an aspirational goal to not only get him so he does not block others, but actually MicroStrategy or himself would fund developers. And he has funded like MIT DCI security initiative in the past. So and he also was a contributor to the COPA Craig Wright case. So anyway.
Let's get him to donate to OpenSat and do a great PR campaign about it.
I mean, while we're at it, there's like no shot in hell he listens to this podcast. But Michael, if you're listening, I would love to.
Of course, he listens to it.
I would love to jump on a call sometime and chat. I've yet to actually talk to him directly, but it's not been through a lack of trying.
It's too bad that the Bitcoin Miami conference doesn't happen in Miami anymore, because that would facilitate that very easily.
Like I'll fly to you, Sailor.
Also, now that MicroStrategy is doing inscriptions, if you want to talk to me, I'm happy to get on the phone. I can give you all kinds of alpha and hot tips.
You have a bag of cats to sell.
As far as it looks like we froze again.
Tell Sailor inscriptions would be so much cheaper with all these softworks.
That is true.
Yeah.
But by the way, I took a peek at the deed thing. It really is just RGB, isn't it? Like that's what it looked like.
What is?
He's talking about Sailor's KYC on the blockchain using inscriptions proposal.
It's like DIDs. It's so weird. It's DIDs that get inscribed. So there's like the whole DID like in an inscription. My favorite, I have two favorite parts of the spec because I actually read the spec. It was 2:00 in the morning. I was at Bitcoin Plus. We were at the bar and I was drinking and yelling at the top of my lungs over the music, highlights from the spec. It was a great time. Everybody missed it. My two favorite things. One of them is they're using inscriptions to batch more DIDs into, a transaction. So they actually had a comparison table of, it was number of DIDs per VByte. So I love that somebody had to make an Excel sheet of like DIDs per VByte, like fantastic. And then the other part is that DID updates are a JSON blob that they're inscribing. So it's this weird mix of like inscriptions and sort of like BRC20s, but it's for DIDs. And the thing that I want to figure out is I need to go and reread the spec and figure out what kind of like authenticity is in this format, because I would love to build a Sophon that can front run people's DIDs. I think that'd be great.
God bless autism.
Yeah.
Can I just use this? Can I propose a hard fork right now? If you can parse your Bitcoin transaction into JSON, I don't want that on my node.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there is lines that we don't cross.
So, Paul, I wrote a shell script on Christmas Day. It's called geld.sh, and it parses transactions and looks for an inscription. And if it sees it, it invalidates the block. So if, like one line of modification, you could take that transaction that contains an inscription and run it through JQ. And if it parses as valid JSON, then just kick the block out.
There we go.
It's funny.
Look at that. Small, slow, and steady improvements.
It's all in user space. You control what's on your node.
And BK, we never really answered your question about where do all the developers trying to get consensus changes in, and if it doesn't happen in 5 years, where do they go?
Where did they bust?
All the enthusiasm, like at the BTC++ conference, and there's like 10 different mishmashes of covenant proposals now. I think all of that energy and dev work is positive. Even though I'm team slow and steady, I think all of that is fantastic. Where I start to get like concerned is around, I have people pinging me saying, hey, OpCat's going to be activated in 6 months. And I have VCs pinging me saying like, it's going to be activated this year. And I'm like, I don't see that. My experience of Bitcoin, that's not going to happen this year without like some kind of insane drama.
No, but the question is, where do they explode in case it doesn't get activated for 5 years?
Also, who are those fucking VCs?
No, Matt, the real question should be for you is, who are those LPs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really interesting at the conference that most of the covenant proposals that I saw like assumed OpCat. So it might be something that ends up being like a lowest common denominator kind of between these proposals, and like maybe like, you know, that this is like part of consensus building, right? It's like what are the common things that as people try different ideas, people are discovering that there's like common usage between these things.
No, the real question is, who's going to cross the desert on a donkey to go ask GMax what he thinks?
That's right.
Like, because that's it. If somebody comes back with proof of life and GMax's opinion, it gets activated.
Has he not? When was the last time he spoke publicly?
What?
When was the last time he spoke publicly?
Fuck, I don't know. I don't track these things.
So 2 pieces of advice, though, like all the developers who are enthusiastic right now about various covenant proposals, if we want to get consensus on a change, I think it starts with the group of developers who are enthusiastic about all these proposals. And right now there's like 10 different proposals. So to me, step one is those developers need to figure out, get consensus among themselves.
There's like 50 proposals, by the way.
Or 50, whatever. Then get the rest of the dev community on board and then go to all of Bitcoin. And a second piece of advice would be sharpening the articulation around the use case and benefits. So we talk about scale, like Rijndael, you mentioned like scaling Lightning or more non-custodial. 100% agree. That is a big problem and risk right now. But articulating that better and other use cases,
yep,
I think is really important to get consensus.
I'll go even further. Like when people say things like timeout trees, like the median Bitcoiner is not going to like wake up and say like, hell yeah, I need timeout trees. Because like people don't know what that means. I think like if you want to build consensus, you know, people don't buy like tech, they buy like solutions to problems. Like the Bitcoin community needs to understand, if we're going to go through all this activation energy to do a consensus change, like what are you getting on the other side of it?
What they need is a turtleneck, and they go on screen and they go, it's a phone. It's a music player. It's a phone. It's a music player.
Mm-hmm.
It's a phone. I can do this for an hour.
That's exactly right.
All right, boys. I think we know where this discussion goes, which is nowhere. So vulnerability disclosures. Love that one.
Developers exist.
That's right. Developers exist. But birds don't. Satan, which is a SATA and air gap exfiltration attack via radio signals from SATA cables. Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is like NVK buzzword bingo. It's like
right.
It's like radio from general purpose hardware lets you exfiltrate keys. Like that's an NVK bingo.
So what people don't know is when you have super high speed lines, okay, like that HDMI, SATA, a lot of the stuff, right? They produce very recognizable EMF, right? And radio frequencies that like you can actually capture. So a lot of guys are figuring out that they can just exploit these things, and it's going to get nasty out there because, you know, again, we've been saying for a long time, don't put the Bitcoin in the computer, put it in the hardware wallet. But, you know, people don't listen, of course. So what you're going to see is more people in the world doing the stupid thing. There is more incentives for these guys to do these absurd things. This is actually quite absurd, but really cool nonetheless.
Specifically, SATA cables are for hard drives, right? They connect hard drives.
Yes.
Do they use them for anything else?
Well, you can put, there is some hardware out there that leverages some of the ports to do other things internally, right? So sometimes they're wired differently, sometimes, you know, PCI Express and whatever. So you can take this as like, it could be in a lot of embedded computers, for example, right? Because they will have high speed lines for things.
With typical disk encryption, that's happening in the CPU and then go over the SATA cable, right? Would you be good or do some disks do the encryption themselves?
Well, so here's the thing, right? On a show or two ago, we saw that Windows laptop that had the keys clear text on the TPM chip, right? So essentially where the secret, the private key for decrypting the hard drive was, and it was communicating that key clear text through the bus. So the guy just goes there, puts like 2 cables on the bus, and like, boom, you have the key. Now, these things get interesting, right? Like, so what if you write firmware that captures that key and now broadcasts over radio, right? Like using the last show's episode vulnerability or 2 shows ago, where you can do LoRa over the pins on a Raspberry Pi and do longer distance with that. This shit's gonna get crazy. I love it.
Yeah, I haven't read the paper, but I wonder if this is more interesting for like things that end up in swap
Yes.
and they're like fully on disk.
What's interesting here is the trend, not the specific use case of this specific attack, right? So the trend is all these guys are figuring out how to broadcast the data out. That's the beautiful thing here. All right. Mullvad, possible DNS traffic leak outside of VPN tunnel, and this was an Android attack. Probably because of how Google does. Google and Apple probably bypass the VPN for their own shit because they control the VPN stack on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Mullvad is one of I only publicly talk about 3 trusted VPN providers. Hosted VPNs are a trusted product. You're completely trusting them with everything. And I like Mullvad. I like iVPN. I like Proton VPN. But Mullvad does a lot of really great public open research in terms of vulnerabilities. And this specifically is with Android users, and it's not their stack.
Yeah.
It's Android stack. So they reported the vulnerability to Android developers, which I guess just goes straight to like Google HQ. Like, I don't know who that is.
There's nobody else.
But yeah, there's DNS leaks if you use any Android VPN client.
Yeah, this doesn't look like it's a Mullvad issue. It's a Android VPN issue.
Yeah.
And Apple unaffected, however, assume that Apple probably has a similar bug that just hasn't been found. Bug.
Yeah.
It's a feature.
Between quotes. All right. So yeah, guys, like as we said many times, like phones are not good for privacy things. Assume phones are fully backdoored.
Just everything's backdoored.
Everything's backdoored. Phones extra backdoored.
Yeah.
The state is not going to let you have encrypted comms without a backdoor in it. U.S. federal officials alert on active exploitation of GitLab account hijack vulnerability. The active vulnerability allows account hijacks via password reset email and is still being exploited since its disclosure.
Awesome.
Great. Assume your GitHub or GitLab issues are possibly public.
Yeah, it looks like this affects both the Community Edition and the Enterprise Edition. So whether you're hosted or if you're hosting your own.
So one thing I've noticed, and part of the reason why we have the bot, what's the bot that we have? Binary Watch bot. It's too many projects. Is that, so here's the issue, right? Like everybody just assumes that a binary on GitHub or on a dev's website is kosher, right? Because, GitHub cannot replace that binary there. Yeah, but somebody could replace the binary there with the right access to the project. We saw this happen to, was it Join Market? No.
Monero it happened to.
That too.
Monero was to me was the big one because there was a lot of downloads. It was like on their main website. Because usually when it happens, it's like either a targeted person,
yes,
or it gets caught right away.
Well, normally they leave it there for a targeted person and then they take it out right away, right? Like that's.
And this is why you're supposed to PGP verify,
yes,
or GPG verify downloads, but very few people do.
Very important to happen. Follow that bot, because if the binary was changed, you would have screamed. And just don't trust binary download.
Just PGP verify your downloads.
Yes. At a minimum, just check the SHA-SUM.
Yeah, but a lot of times the SHA-SUM is posted at the same website.
Yes.
So, like, ideally, you already have the PGP or GPG key of the dev from previously. You're not pulling it from the same website that you just pulled the download from, and this is now a trusted key for you, and then you're going to verify it. I will say there's some interesting things happening on the Nostr side, because at the core, Nostr's simply, signed messages.
PubSub, yeah.
And so like one of the ways humanity has solved this problem is through app stores, right? So all App Store, Google Play, Apple App Store is all of those are supposed to be signed, but who's doing the verification is Apple and Google, who we can't fucking trust. So imagine if you did that, but instead of having that trusted third party, it was all done natively through Nostr, I think is kind of a compelling option.
There was a project for that. I forgot the name of the project.
Well, so how are they like broadcasting like binary signatures? Like what are they doing on Nostr?
It's still kind of early.
Zap.store, FranZap is working on this. We did this in Madeira. We published a signed binary of Mutiny for Android to Zap.store and installed it on a device. It was,
You like sign it with your Nostr key, right?
yeah. Which is, I mean, it's not like it's so different than PGP. It's more just like, this is something that a lot of people have access to. It can be really simple.
You want your brain blown? Okay. Nostr is just like PGP.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that like it's a lot harder to rotate Nostr keys and identities than it is for like GPG keys and identities. So I think that's the thing that's going to be tricky.
But we can solve that super easy. Like Pablo spec is like super clean. It's like you just have a signed broadcast message that says like, I will rotate to these keys when I say I will rotate, and it's a one-way function. It's like, I'm rotating.
Wow. No, but here's the problem, Matt. Like I remember working with Pablo on this. There's two issues. One is there is a timing attack there, right? So you could sort of like have somebody do something before the person gets the message.
Yeah, before the message broadcasts.
No, but even then, right? You're trusting that the clients are honest.
Of course, but it's simple.
No, but the other problem is we cannot rotate the parent key.
Yeah, the top level one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but the whole point is it's just a one-way function, and even if an attacker has access to your key, you still have access to your key, so you can still broadcast it. But the point is it's simple, and I like simple fucking things. I will say on the PGP verification front, we actually, last time I was on Bitcoin Review was with Craig of Sparrow, and he added the ability to just drag and drop binaries into Sparrow, and he has the keys for that. But it's still better than people just not verifying key software. So that was cool. And I think that's a great way for at least certain high-level projects like Bitcoin Core and stuff like that. You can just drag and drop into Sparrow and it'll verify for you.
Prefer hardware wallets to check the firmware internally before they accept the firmware.
Secure element.
Well, not just, I mean, yes, you need a place to put the certificates. But aside from that, like, Trezor, Ledger, COLDCARD, I think Jade might do it as well. They check the firmware before they allow you to load it, and they'll give you at least a warning, right?
No, the only person who can upload malicious firmware to your COLDCARD is MVK, which is a net benefit.
Right. Anyways, that always feels great. No, but it's reproducibly built, and you can go check the fucking source yourself, and then you make sure you put it in. Going forward here, coordinated attack on Docker Hub via malicious repositories, increased a cyber attack targeting Docker, where attackers create millions of malicious repositories to distribute malware, orchestrated phishing scams. Fun times. That one reminds me a little bit of the remember that attack that happened on Ledger where you had the CDN attack.
Oh yeah.
They replaced the
It was for like the Wallet Connect for like a ETH wallet. Yeah.
Yeah, the JS code that was there for one of the shitcoin contracts things, and then boom, money gone. Yeah, cannot trust servers. Do not connect your fucking computers to the internet to do Bitcoin things, please, people. Cuckoo, persistent macOS spyware info stealer, operates as a hybrid of spyware and info stealer. Man, I'm so dyslexic. Targeting both Intel and ARM-based Macs through a deceptive software installation. For Macs, guys, like, please just run it on lockdown mode at all times. It does help with a lot of this shit.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, I mean, there's no guarantee that app stores are going to catch all this stuff, but that's, part of their purpose. But bringing this verification stuff down to the user level, understanding that people are, because of the restrictions on app stores, people are downloading apps in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they get none of the nice stuff. Like, it makes more sense to me, instead of making it harder to do that, like, try to add as much of the nice stuff as you can to even arbitrary downloads.
Well, I mean, walled gardens do help. It's a shame that we live in a complete surveil state, but they do help people who are like very incapable of checking their own things.
What would be really nice is if there was like a equivalent of Let's Encrypt, but for app signing keys. Because like this used to be a problem with TLS years ago, where if you wanted to turn on SSL on your website, you needed to go and like pay $200 to VeriSign, and it was like a pain in the ass.
But you still have to share your certificate, your private keys for your SSL with the CAs, right? Like
no, you send a certificate signing request to Let's Encrypt,
okay,
and they sign a cert for you. And you have to renew your cert every 3 or 6 months or something like that.
That's reasonable.
But Mac OS, it has signature checking built in for signed apps, but it's a gate kept process to get an app signing key. If there was like an equivalent of Let's Encrypt, where if you're an open source dev and you could like run something and get a signed key from Apple, people might still download your signed malware, but at least if you're distributing like not signed malware, people could still verify that it's actually yours without having to learn how to use GPG.
Naked Britney Spears.exe, but signed.
Signing solves a very specific thing, right? It's I'm getting the software from the person I believe I'm getting the software.
That's right.
It doesn't trust you from that person.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you that it's good code. It tells you that it's the code that you think you're downloading.
Which is it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
But it does a very specific thing.
Signed software without deterministic builds is pointless.
Yeah.
Because you just get a false sense of security, which is more dangerous, right?
No, it's still less dangerous, in my opinion, than unsigned software where you don't know who you're getting it from. But yes, I agree that reproducible builds is obviously a massive net benefit. I stood up because I just want to highlight, it's a shame that we live in a surveillance state. Having said that, which is just a ridiculous sentence. Okay, we can continue.
So, Bitcoin software releases and project updates. Sparrow version 1.9.0. Do you want to do this seated or standing, Matt?
I mostly do standing now for all of my shows, but I also realized that I'm going to be going for like 5 hours straight. So I just took a little rest.
Yes.
You don't have to call me out for...
No, we're going to be calling out every move.
I want to let everyone else know that is listening, since this is a non-video show, that the other 4 guys they have been sitting this entire time. I sat for about 5 minutes.
How do you know? Maybe I'm not sitting here.
I see the chair.
I'm just faking it. I'm just pushing it with my legs. All right, Sparrow Wallet version 1.9.0. Remove Whirlpool client and other Soroban-related features and dependencies. Brutal, not fun. I feel for Craig. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what the best advice is for him here. He probably did what he had to do. Being a martyr is not a solution.
I will say, functionality-wise, it doesn't change anything. Whirlpool wasn't working. The plan to decentralize Whirlpool was like in its infancy and hadn't actually gotten rolled out, so you couldn't use Whirlpool through Sparrow Wallet. And he didn't remove like the derivation path stuff, so everyone that had funds in those self-custody wallets still has access to those wallets. So from a functionality point of view for users, they still have everything they need to spend their Bitcoin and access their Bitcoin. But yeah,
I mean, I have to say thanks to Craig, because on the previous show when he I don't know if he was there or not, but he actually added a bunch of features I requested, but didn't tell me. So like I went on and I'm like, dude, this is just working. He's like, yeah. And then I went to see the detailed release and all the features I asked were added. So thanks, Craig.
Yeah, dude's a fucking legend.
No, so this bot is actually the sole purpose is to have Craig come on and then we ask him for features live and we explain correctly and then he makes them. All right. COLDCARD. Shared improvements for Mark IV and Q. So this is version 1.2.0 Q for Q and version 5.3.0 for Mark IV. Add Nunchuk and Zeus options to export wallet view identity, shows temporary seed active at the top. Can specify index for address explorer and browsing. Allow unlimited index for BIP85 derivations. People are crazy, but it's in the danger zone now. Allow export for multisig xpub via barbecue QR. Import multisig via barbecue QR. A status bar contact sharper now. Ability to write sign PSPT transact lower B on the on the other SD card. Mark IV. When providing 12 to or 18 seed phrase, valid final word choices are presented in new menu. It's also silly because there's too many words. But anyways, people want to do what they want to do.
So MBK, my understanding is like it's the same hardware inside the case, MK4 and Q. Why do you have different releases?
Because they have different hardware additions, right? So
like the laser barcode scanner,
the barcode, and there is a GPU that we had to add so we could blink the cursor. Literally, it's not a joke. The display and the hardware is very limited.
When can you play Doom?
I this one is going to be a very interesting project if somebody makes it happen.
Yeah.
The screen is too big for I2C, so we are applying 80s.
Okay.
Thinking we turn off the display to freshen it faster. Lots of fun stuff in there.
Love to see it.
Move dice rolls for generated into advanced menu. We sort of rejigged menus a little bit more. Using verify address in NFC tools menu. I think it's not here; it's missing. But we made the QR scan the QR on the screen of the Q bigger. All right, Secp256k1 version 0.5.0.
So it's not on the list, but there's actually a really awesome change in this release. There's a new multiplication algorithm for doing EC multiplication that gets 15% faster pub key generation and 10 to 15% better signing, which is awesome.
No, it's so two things are super cool on this, and it's also a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm.
The whole library, they saved a lot of room. Power to them. I had them on an episode if you want to learn more about libsec. This is literally the most important piece of cryptographic software in the planet. It's probably the most watched piece of cryptography implementation in the planet too. Your life savings depend on it, and a lot of things are getting built now on libsec that are not necessarily just Bitcoin. People are using this curve and this implementation to make things not get fucked.
Like Nostr.
Yeah, like Nostr. It's anyways, it's really cool. Highly recommend people follow the project, follow the maintainers.
I totally agree. And because it's not really part of Bitcoin Core, I think most people just think Bitcoin Core is the only project in the space. But this is, as you just said, it's just as important as the consensus code in Bitcoin Core.
Yeah.
It's absolutely on par. And the developers that work on that are really crucial to Bitcoin. So
we had them on. It was a great episode. I kind of love the fact that it's not on Core. It's like a separate repo.
Well, it's actually in the Core repository, which is
yes, but in a separate repo, right? Which makes it
yeah,
it's a lot better. So the politics don't spill over to the people doing real math.
There's not many developers either, right? I mean, and they're the few that are very talented and a long history with Bitcoin. But I am excited to sort of pre-announce a Spiral grant, there's a Summer of Bitcoin.
Oh, there goes the shield.
Yeah.
He needs to talk about his philanthropy bags.
Yes. We earned 0 revenue off this though, but
I know that's the joke.
but no, I mean, so there's a Summer of Bitcoin alum who has been contributing to the project for a couple of years now, and the old timers in that project have been mentoring him, and we're gonna give him a grant to be announced soon.
That's great.
That I love hearing that. There's something interesting about this specific library and cryptography in general. Like the first thing you learn as a developer about cryptography is that you don't do your own cryptography.
That's right. Like,
and so that's a great lesson to learn, but it also like stunts the pipeline. Like in every other like line of development, it's like, yeah, make a bad dumb game, make a bad dumb website, and that's how you learn to get better. But like nobody wants you to ship bad dumb crypto. So like that, there's a challenge in finding a good pipeline for new developers.
if there is one thing that like competitors agree on, is often using the same cryptographic library. It's like that is the standard. It's not the opposite. It's better if everybody uses it, and there is a bit of a monoculture on that. The eyes are on it. I mean, just the amount of work they do on side channel, it's amazing. But anyway,
I don't think LND uses it though. I think they have their own implementation of that curve in Go.
well, hipster languages.
I find that scary personally.
I at Bitcoin last week, I was talking to somebody who's working on Bitcoin J, like the Java implementation, and he's doing a lot of work to basically have their Java bindings just call libsec.
Yes,
so that they don't have to like maintain all this stuff, and they get it all for free.
I mean, we put this inside COLDCARD. There is libsec, like unchanged libsec in there. There is no need for people to be running anything else, especially because the other things are often mixed with shitcoins as well. This is a fantastic library and is reproducibly built.
That it's hyper optimized. I mean, Rijndael mentioned a recent one, but like maybe 4 years ago, there was a massive optimization.
Yes.
That I don't think any other library implementing it has. And then it also has a bunch of constant time optimizations to protect against side channel attacks.
Yep.
Yes. Listen to the episode, guys. It was 2.5 hours of Jonas, Nick, and the guys sort of like talking about it. We talked about the multiplication improvements and all kinds of things. But it was cool because it was not just about the math on it. It was about like, the importance of crypto libraries, and so people understand what the fuck these things are. All right. Different category. Umbrel version 1.1.1 added support for x86 devices.
I'm glad that we went from like hyper secure, very scrutinized code to Umbrel.
Yes. They do have better hardware now, which is great. Different purpose, different trade-offs, different things. Blockstream Green iOS version 4.0.27 support push notifications to receive Lightning payments, empty Lightning account, export Lightning logs. Still no PSBT support. BlueWallet version 6.6.3 add privacy manifest for Apple. Number in widget should be formatted to a decimal. Nunchuk Fini. They updated some of their software here. Added support for multiple subscription. No, this is just the business logic. Ability to seamlessly change the keys. Android ultra high QR setting. That's good to see. People make shitty fucking QRs for no reason on a phone screens beyond me. The screens have like, 1,000 DPI. Anyways.
Have you talked about Fini? I mean, it's their inheritance solution, right?
Yes.
Have you talked about it in the show already?
Yes, a little bit. But do you have impressions?
Nothing specific. I mean, it's largely an unsolved problem in the space, and there's a variety of solutions, right?
Yes.
That's the good thing. Like if you look at CISA, Unchained, Nunchuk, I know the BitKey team's looking into it So I'm seeing different solutions. I think that's really positive.
Yes.
I don't think any of us. Well, first of all, I suspect that the long term there'll need to be different solutions. People have different
needs, different people, different needs,
and different trade offs, right? So what 'cause some people will want to use like escrow or a lawyer or something like that, and others will want to be like fully self sovereign and trust no one. And so there's going to be solutions to appeal to both.
I think the problem that we still have is that it goes back to on-chain problems. Is that again we don't have rules on the outputs. We only have it on the inputs. So we are still having to depend on this extremely unideal primitives for this stuff. So essentially all the fucking solutions suck. But power to the devs who are trying to build something. It's very fucking hard to do this. It's very hard to deal with things post-mortem. And you have nerd money and you're trying to pass this on, and still maintaining privacy and making sure that a widow does not lose the money to whoever is helping handle that. It's all very difficult. And so all the solutions try to do very different trade-offs.
The biggest issue is that the heir, if you're thinking about it correctly, should be part of the threat model.
Yep. Yes.
And it's not just like your heir stealing your money. You don't want your wife or your children to be subject to a
coercion,
a $10 wrench attack.
Yeah.
So they can't have access by design, and it's a bearer asset, right?
And ideally, they don't even know how much there is. It's even better too.
Yeah. That's the fundamental concern. I will say, today, we are way better off than we were 2 years ago. Insanely better off than we were 5 years ago. So progress on that front seems to be moving quite quickly. And also it's a relatively easy product to monetize, I think.
Yes. That's the only way to monetize, because normal wallets, you can't really monetize.
Yeah.
But I really think that the next stage now is, again, doesn't need consensus changes, is to see what people can do with Frost or Arctic, the new version of Frost that Jimmy is working on. I think it might crack the next iteration of these things, because multisig sucks.
I would just say that multisig is awesome. And widespread use of multisig is part of the reason why we're way better off where we are now than 2 years ago.
Man, this is a pod for the devs, we're not selling to the...
But that's the problem.
Multisig sucks.
I like to see... Multisig is the most powerful fucking thing. But anyway...
It's what we have.
Okay.
But P2SH is horrible.
1 second. The big issue, and I do look forward to improvements making this easier. I mean, Rob Hamilton lives and works out of the park. So I see him all the time and we talk about this shit.
He lives in the park.
Yeah, he lives here. The main issue is, at the end of the day, is it's not a dev who's receiving the funds after you die.
Exactly.
And that's why some of the biggest strides we've seen made is on it's on the UX side of how that heir is actually recovering the money. And yes, certain improvements will make that better and more secure. But I do think the biggest pain point is on the UX of the heir, the UX of the person receiving.
Not using P2SH, using Schnorr with Frost. But
can I just interrupt this discussion? Do you guys hear the beep? Do you guys hear this constant beep?
No.
It's in your head, Matt. It's in your head.
It's on my side? Okay, good. At least the listener doesn't have to hear the beep. I've been texting in the private chat, but no one's responding to me.
Johnny, can we add the beep just when Matt talks?
I just hear constant beeps.
He says yes. All right. On the same vein, yet one more solution for it's a single key vault here, but I think they're going to do more stuff. This Theya Inc. Bitcoin wallet, single key vaults, create mobile vaults, optional encrypted iCloud backups. I've seen this one pop up here and there. I asked Odell if I have not tried it. These guys have contacted us. I just bandwidth, no time to overview. But I'd love to know if anybody has played with this. I'm very curious.
Their marketing page says they have multi-key vaults, and they also have sovereign and assisted recovery options.
Okay.
My basic understanding is that this is like a Y Combinator born competitor to CISA, but I have not used it.
Do they have similar LPs?
No, because it's Y Combinator born. CISA has like a band as an LP. I forget which band. But no, I mean, I believe this is like Silicon Valley venture backed. Quote unquote, the adults are in the room. This is how you do multi-sig and inheritance. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we're totally safe now. The adults are definitely, they know what they're doing.
Is that? I haven't seen any like Bitcoin specific companies out of Y Combinator that I can think of.
I'm pretty sure they're Y Combinator.
No, Y Combinator hates Bitcoin because they can't have shares.
I'm not disputing it. Like they say it on their Twitter profile, they're Y Combinator back. But
Oh, there you go. Verified.
I'm not disputing it. I'm saying this is surprising to me.
Steve, we need to get Thomas and the team there to start releasing updates for us to read about BitKey, the whole stack there, because I don't have updates.
Code drops?
Yeah, like we want commits.
When's the okay? I'll look into this. When's the last one?
Send a strong worded memo.
I believe the team stance is that they'll do code drops at every software release.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, they should.
Yes. We want to review the software updates.
It's not a one-time throw the code over the wall approach. I would complain. I would complain about that.
Yeah, it looks like the last one was...
No, we just want the logs. Like we have Johnny goes through painstaking process of copying the Git the change log, so people can, it doesn't have to be all the commits, but the change log is often a little bit more summarized, and that's what we put in here, so we can painstakingly torture people for 3 hours about software.
Got it.
And the guests get tortured too. All right. 10.10.1, use correct leverage for trader liquidation price, automatically add a bunch of stuff. BTCmap-android, updated.
It was the chain smokers. The chain smokers invested in CISA.
Oh, nice.
Okay. That's kind of cool, man, to have a band. I mean,
I know, right?
it's kind of, it's got a tune to it. All right. BTCmap-android, updated. Braiins Toolbox, updated. Version 24.04. All right. Project Spotlight. BBQr-rust. Rust implementation of BBQr specification by Praveen Pereira, Canadian. He got sponsored by Bull.
Congratulations.
Most Bitcoin is Canadian. He got sponsored by Bull Bitcoin to write the BBQr in Rust.
Canadian.
And public domain, actually. He's writing also Kotlin and Swift bindings, so more can support this far superior, better Bitcoin QR standard.
Does this parse normal QR codes or only?
No, normal too. So it's clever. The spec is designed so that if it fits on the screen, it tries to go down to hex, right? So first it tries up to about 4 bytes. 4 kilobytes. It tries to show on screen as hex, and then from that on, it starts to compress, and then when it cannot fit on the screen anymore, that's when it goes into rotation. And he's using zlib. What else? Awning, Dockerized Bitcoin plus LND plus BTCpay node, something like Umbrel, but lighter and portable. Something like Raspberry Boat, but easier and automated. Like Uber. Remember when you were trying to pitch your ideas to people and you say it's like Facebook, but for books, or Uber?
Is Awning a synonym of umbrella?
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
Yeah, it's clearly a target. It's clearly targeting Umbrel.
Yeah.
It's very clever.
Glad to see people having fun out here.
Yeah.
These are hard times.
Who needs an umbrella when you're under an awning, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's much more dignified. That's what they have in front of hotels. It's an awning.
Mm-hmm.
And they might have an umbrella guy. Bitcoin Troubleshoot, an app for Bitcoiners to troubleshoot each other's technical issues for sats using Nostr. Okay.
Just type your seed phrase right here and I'll help you find your money.
But it uses Nostr.
Your money's transferred.
Right.
GroupHug, Bitcoin transaction batching server. That's cool, I guess. Hodlboard, Freedit fork. I don't know what Freedit.
Fredit, right? It's got to be Reddit, right?
No, but free.
Yeah, but it's a play on Reddit. We're talking about naming, right? It's clearly a play on Reddit.
If it wanted to be Reddit, it should have had 2 Ds and not 2 Es.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Freedit.
Okay.
Between ESL and dyslexia, this is not working for me. Privacy software. Software released in Unleashed.Chat. Add beta web search. Also charge for sats per generation. A replacement of Mixroll 7B with 22B in progress. Project Spotlight. Emessbee.
Emessbee.
Oh, I finally understand it.
Yeah, I just figured that out. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Emessbee. Unstoppable coin join with no coordinators by Super Testnet.
Yeah, it's spelled Emessbee.
Good name.
For what it's worth. I guess he demoed this at Bitcoin Plus.
Yeah, he did a workshop, and I think this started as the workshop.
I love Super, and I appreciate his contributions to Bitcoin. But I will say in the Stacker News commentary, it seems like he didn't look at any existing CoinJoin projects.
It's exactly how he operates.
He was finding out about them in the comment section.
Right.
So to go back to the Jack Dorsey donation, I would say there is a tendency in the Bitcoin community to read the Stacker News headline, be like, unstoppable coin joins. Okay, our work is done. We've done it. Congratulations, team.
Good job, everybody. Go home.
Yeah, mission accomplished. That is not the case.
You know, he's listening to the show live, right? I gave him the guest link.
Yeah.
Because I said Steve was coming.
I'm glad.
I thought you meant Super was listening.
Yeah, Super's listening.
You meant Jack.
I thought you were talking about Super.
Yeah.
Thank you for clearing that, Steve.
Well, I mean, just push on that a little bit more, right? I think that there's a real tendency where somebody will go and, figure out something on the whiteboard, and then everybody's like, cool, problem solved. Now we can do threshold, Schnorr signatures. Now we can do permissionless coin joins. We can do all these things.
We won.
Yeah, we're done. That's it. Bitcoin ascendancy guaranteed.
It's the George Bush mission accomplished meme is what it is. Yeah.
And I think to what was being said a few minutes ago about UX getting better for inheritance, it turns out that to make any of this technology actually accessible to real people, there's product building and UX and testing and hardening that has to get done. And that's 95% of the work. It's really, really cool.
Rijndael, real people don't exist.
Yeah, right. Yeah, nobody actually uses Bitcoin. And so the it's cool when people figure out some neat idea, but until it shows up in a product that somebody can actually push a button and use, it kind of doesn't matter.
And specifically with privacy software, it's so reliant on this idea of anonymity set, reliant on actual large amounts of users using it. And it becomes even more important than other types of software in that regard.
Wait, so we're not going to just have ZK rollups and then that's it? Bitcoin has privacy?
Well, we will. But, for that reason, Odell, I'm actually way more interested in coin swaps than coin joins, right? Because with a coin join, your anonymity set is everybody who's also doing coin joins.
Yes.
If you do Chris Belcher had a piece of software called Teleport Transaction, and the promise with something like a coin swap is that your anonymity set is everybody who's using Taproot, right? And that's a much better set of people to be in.
Look, at the end of the day, I try and look at things from solution point of views. And I just think that everyone in the world should have financial privacy. So however we get there, it doesn't really matter to me. But I will say the big trade-off issue with swaps is that it puts a lot of burden, like real world burden, on early users of swaps.
Yep.
Because, we don't live in a vacuum, and most like government entities or whoever's in your threat model are not going to be like, will not take your excuse of, oh, well, I just like swapped with a random person. Like, this isn't my UTXO. And so in the beginning, like there's real adoption hurdles there, because in the beginning, there's a lot of pain for individual users, because let's be honest, like there'll be a lot of users that will be swapping UTXOs they do not want.
Nobody wants to be the first one to swap with North Korea. Like you don't want to be the first guy to do that.
I didn't say that. You said that, but I'm just saying that it's a real thing. And I will say that coin joins, specifically collaborative transactions, coin joins, had this benefit that, and it was treated like it's historically been treated like a negative. That is very obvious on chain.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an argument that in the real world it's a positive, because you clearly did a coin join. Like it is very clear. If I do message encryption, it is clear that I'm using encryption when I'm chatting. It's not clear what the chat is, what the message is, but it's clear that I'm doing it. And with swaps, it's not necessarily clear. Like you don't, is that, it probably is that person's UTXO and not a swap.
This is the problem that I have with this conversation, is that like it's not either or.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I want joint markets, with coin swaps.
Yeah.
Like let's mix everything. Throw the sink at it.
I agree. I don't disagree with that.
Another tension and trade-off here.
Do you even like privacy?
Like I said, solutions. At the end of the day, I just think people deserve financial privacy, and I think that we will live in a better world if people have financial privacy.
Steve?
I totally agree. A tension and challenge here is that most of the privacy solutions require extra cost.
Yeah.
Some a lot more, some a little bit more. So I totally agree. We need to strive for default solutions, and like more wallet adoption of various protocols, be it pay join, coin joins, coin swaps, whatever. There's a bunch of stuff within Lightning that's already improves privacy, and a bunch more things that improve Lightning privacy. We need to see more wallet adoption. But if it comes at significant cost, there's always going to be a wallet on the market that doesn't have that. And a lot of consumers will choose they'll choose cheap over privacy.
Incentives need to be aligned.
Yep.
There is no number go up if people cannot spend their coins outside of the system.
Yep.
That's my point that I give to the people who are building big financial sort of legacy integrated solutions for Bitcoin. It's great. We want to suck all the value into Bitcoin, but if they don't defend Bitcoin's censorship resistance, which privacy is a big part of it, the number go down.
No privacy, no freedom, no wealth.
That's right.
The inverse of what I just said too, if it's very costly to use a privacy tool, it's going to attract more criminal behavior versus just everyday people, and it becomes more of a target. So the more we can create cheaper but still effective default solutions for everyone, the better.
I will say I 100% agree with you, but where we stand in Bitcoin's trade-off model in terms of UTXOs and whatnot, it is incredibly cheap in comparison to use Bitcoin in a horribly privacy inefficient way.
We don't have to go that far. Just look at how much a Visa credit card at a gas station costs, how much you lose on the buying, the spending, and everything else.
Look, all you have to do is watch transaction fees go up, on-chain transaction fees go up, and every influencer and their mother will just tell you just to send all your UTXOs to a single fucking address.
Yep.
Consolidate, and there you go. That's the core of all of this.
No, the core of all this is the problem is influencers.
We found the root of the issue.
That is the core of the problem, is that we have people with very little fucking technical understanding giving Bitcoin official education, right? Like, I mean, we see this all the time. It's fucking brutal out there.
Yeah.
Trust Wallet, which is a very popular wallet, probably more than every Bitcoin wallet we like combined in terms of users. And they don't even support, or they only support reusing addresses.
Yeah, no HD wallet.
Well, I mean, big blockchain.info was like that for a long time.
But they did support that, and then they retracted.
But they probably figured out it's very hard to scale that.
Well, their actual argument is that most of our users are shitcoiners, and your Ethereum address never changes. So why would your Bitcoin address change?
Yes. I mean, really, like Ethereum is the problem of all the things in general.
I will say, Safe has said a lot of smart things, but his Ethereum is
the mother asshole that
all shitcoins were born from.
That's right. It really is brutal. All right, software releases and project updates, Lightning and L2 Plus, which includes L3. LND version 0.18.0-beta.rc1.
You literally named this category L2 Plus?
Yes. It was to trigger Kali.
I'm a little bit triggered. Okay.
Add experimental support for inbound routing fees and a bunch of other things I don't understand. Mutiny Node version 0.6.7. Mr. Mutiny.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've been kind of under the hood for the past couple of weeks. Basically, we're getting ready for on-chain support for Fedimint, so you can send and receive on-chain, which is pretty fun. And I think that's going to be huge. I'm really excited about that. And then I've been doing some stuff on the front end to just like performance optimizations. I think the wallet's going to just feel a lot snappier, load quicker, that kind of stuff. So that's what we've been focused on. And yeah, hopefully we'll have some news in like a week or two.
I will say, I think given everything that's happened over the last few weeks and months, there should obviously be greater focus on self-hosting things. And so I've been playing around with StartOS, which is a completely false project that is like parented by Start9, the actual business. But like StartOS makes it incredibly easy to run a Mutiny stack. And I think it's like I think the package is community maintained. I don't think you guys actually maintain that package, but to me, that's incredibly cool. It's like you can go to MutinyWallet.com, you can use your hosted stack, or you can relatively easy. Like I think most people that have bare level technical expertise can not even buy, like you don't have to buy a box. Like you can just flash StartOS on any machine and just like click a button and you're running the full Mutiny stack, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think it's, we've always had that in mind that we wanted it to be easy to self-host. I know I personally haven't been focused on that a lot recently. Ben kind of maintains some of that stuff. I want to get a StartOS box so I can like test that myself. Like when we have a new release, we're like testing on the web and we're testing in mobile browsers and the PWA and then the Android app, the iOS app. But I want to make sure that, self-hosting becomes even more of a first-class citizen, because I do think that's really important that people have that exit. And something you said earlier, Matt, something about the burden. Like if you think about all of these things, like who is the burden on, and when the UX isn't great, the burden is on the user. And we, as longer time Bitcoiners are kind of used to that. Like, okay, I'm going to have to level up my skill set to get the privacy and self-sovereignty I want. And so as someone who's making a product that's trying to make that accessible, like I'm trying to take on as much of that burden, but I think people should be aware, especially when things are really in flux right now, like the product you love, just disappeared from your market. Understanding that that's taking on the burden is a big part of being a Bitcoiner. So people should just be aware that that's kind of, it's part of what we signed up for.
So Matt from StartOS sent this man a box.
No, but that's the cool part. It's like he can just literally flash any old computer.
No, send him a box.
I really hope if more people are starting to put actual Bitcoin on, like whether it's StartOS or Umbrel or whatever, I've been giving some gentle prods to some of these projects to like not run all this stuff in Docker and like use actual VMs. If people are actually talking about like running, actual Chaumian e-cashments with like real money in them, I really hope that like there's some leveling up of the actual like run times, because I don't know. Like I would not be putting like Lightning nodes next to real Bitcoin wallets on Docker on like a self-hosted ThinkPad. Like bad things are just going to happen.
I mean, every time I see their booths, I go to their booths and I try to preach the word of FreeBSD, OpenBSD, or NetBSD. It's like, you're going to get 10x security by just like ripping out Linux out of there.
There's a package called Firecracker, and you can use it with Docker containers and you'll get, 10x better security. And it's just like an integration lift.
I just wanted to clarify, this is actually a point of contention, confusion for a lot of people. If you run Mutiny on your Start9, it's the same as if we're running Mutiny, in the sense that the node actually ends up in the browser and your private keys actually end up in the browser. So you're basically running a little web server. So it would be cool actually if maybe the node was running on your Start9, but that's not how it's architected currently.
And the other key piece there too is like, the Fediment is not running in the Mutiny stack, right? Like one of the cool things that the Mutiny guys did is like when you launch Mutiny, it gives you like a Nostr decentralized version of Trustpilot that like rates external mints that you are choosing to connect to. But otherwise I do agree with your concerns.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, another PSA along those lines. It looks like the Free Madeira mint is shutting down. So
yeah.
We'll have support for switching hopefully soon.
Okay.
Or easier ergonomics. You can already switch, but we'll try to make it easier if people...
Well, I think the big thing you guys need to add is like, so there's only really two apps that support Fedimints right now. It's Fedi and Mutiny Wallet. And in Fedi, like they have the ability for like the Fediment to send like this big broadcast message like, we're going to rug you in a month unless you leave. And Mutiny doesn't have that yet. So...
yeah, we're adding the rug capabilities to Mutiny for sure.
Rug notifications.
One thing to note, though, that's not in that Mutiny stack, so it's not running on, it can't be self-hosted right now, is the LSP. Mutiny uses Voltage right now. And this is a risk area with Lightning in general. Phoenix exited the US.
Largest LSP in the world.
And Voltage and Olympus are the only two LSPs that I'm aware of that are operational in the US.
What about CoQ12 or whatever you guys have?
Which one?
Or C equals.
C equals. C equals is not launched yet.
CoQ12 is a vitamin.
Oh,
that's a good point. We do want to have multi-LSP support. That's something else we are working on. Like one of the things Ben's been working on is adding anchor channel support. Cause right now the Voltage LSP is, Core Lightning. To do good channels with LND, apparently you need anchor channels. I love just hearing these words, and then like 3 weeks in, I'll ask them what they mean.
Steve, do you know what the status of the LSP spec is? Because I feel like in order for like Mutiny to be able to switch LSPs, there needs to be like an interoperable LSP interface.
I do. So within the LDK project, there's a Rust crate called Lightning-Liquidity. That is an implementation of the Lightning spec. But a little bit more detail, there's several specs within the Lightning, the LSP spec. There's LSPS1, which lets you open just a normal channel between two peers. LSPS2 is the just-in-time channel, which is particularly of interest for a mobile user and like a new user. And there's several more specs, but this Rust crate does implement LSPS2. The like beta version of C equals supports that as well. So there's some users that are testing that out, and I believe Voltage is working towards supporting the LSPS2 spec as well. Then projects like LDK Node, which is a wallet node implementation using LDK, just automatically could use voltage C equals or any other LSP that supports that spec. So there's good progress on that front. There in Italy a few weeks ago at the Lightning Summit, there was also all the folks working on the LSP spec met in person. And Bastian from Async joined as well. And that was very valuable because he's been a little cautious about the LSP spec group. He kind of felt like it was premature to spec it out because there's still so much to learn about running, having a profitable LSP that's affordable for end users that technically works. But the good news is that the LSP spec folks and Bastian are all on the same page now and really moving towards piggybacking off of liquidity ads and moving these into the Lightning Bolt specs, which I think is absolutely the right direction. Because if we can turn every Lightning node into effectively an LSP, that's going to be more regulatory resistant, I think. And I think we should actually just get rid of the word LSP. There should be no more. There should no longer be the term LSP.
Don't give them the terms.
Yeah, we don't want the term, but we need the functionality.
Mm-hmm.
So there is agreement, I believe, by all the relevant developers that liquidity ads will be improved and enhanced to support the mobile use case. And there'll be basically a merging of the LSP spec work and liquidity ads. And then it'll be perfect.
So what do we call them? Yeah, you just used it. What do we call them? Because I actually think it's like a
Lightning nodes, bolt specs.
Lightning nodes. Okay.
Nuts and bolts.
I think that's a step in the right direction, both for interoperability, but also reducing regulatory risk. But there's still regulatory risk. And so that is something that we should, the positive from the last couple of weeks of drama around DOJ action is it's raising awareness from other people about these issues. And there's just more momentum about how do we tackle some of these issues.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron.
Necessarily perfect solutions in place, but at least the conversation's being discussed. Because one thing that happened after Phoenix exited, almost every CEO of a major Lightning company was reaching out to me, sort of complaining about that.
So like 4 people.
Sorry?
Sorry, continue.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
I was being a dick. I said 4 people.
Yeah, 4. But my response was none of them are running an LSP. So they're not taking the same risks as Async. So my response was, you should run an LSP in the US.
Well, I think Phoenix overreacted
Completely.
They were scared. I will say, you can't blame them though.
No.
If you think you can do better, do it better. I think all the the random people just chirping on Nostr and Twitter oh fuck you, bro. It's okay, well, they do have a significant burden and they should.
One does not listen to the chirping people.
Yeah, you just disregard the chirping people, focus on the people that are actually building things.
Yes.
But I will say, Steve, you're completely correct. 2 weeks before all this happened, I had the co-founder of Async on Scylla Dispatch, and he was like, we've solved Lightning. We have Phoenix.
T-Bass?
We have Phoenix D. No, Pierre Marie. He's like, we have Phoenix D. It's super easy. You never have to run a Lightning node. You just do a couple command lines. You're done. You're ready to go. You can receive Lightning payments. And then 2.5 weeks later, 3 weeks later, we've left the U.S. market. And everyone's like, oh shit. But that's when you look at open development, you look at open protocols. That's where real development and improvement happens, right? Is where pressure happens. If you don't have the pressure, then you do the easier thing. And once you can't do the easier thing, then you figure out how to do the harder thing.
Oh, Lightning. Breez SDK version 0.4.0. Change background, redeem, swap notification message. Blockstream Green iOS. Still no PSBT support. Support for push notifications to receive Lightning payments. Empty Lightning account. Export Lightning logs.
Did they put that in the release notes? Still no PSBT support?
Oh, yes. It's in every release. They started it now.
Haven't we covered this twice now in this show?
No, this is another project that didn't have PSBT support.
No, the green iOS. It was
Green iOS. The green has a wallet and it has Lightning. It has both.
I'm just saying. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, take it up with Johnny. Johnny probably repeated
I
it.
think you're right. Johnny did repeat it.
That's it. We expect nothing less than Harakiri. BoltzExchange, boltz-backend, version 3.6.0, add capability to connect multiple elements nodes with different transactions. Relay policy, selectively deciding which one to use.
Still no PSBT support.
Johnny, no oops. We need Harakiri on video. But use a plastic sword. SwissBitcoinPay, version 2.013. Add com.google.android.gms.
I didn't realize the private chat doesn't auto scroll.
It does. You just have to be on the bottom.
Yeah, no, I mean, I called out the beep audio, and Johnny was like, there is no beep. See a professional. Fucking hilarious. I wouldn't have said anything. Sorry, Johnny.
Now, the problem is that Matt tries to use his like fancy board with the farts and things there in his studio. And that always messes up everything.
I just tried to click it, but the SD card's not in, so I couldn't.
SwissBitcoinPay version 2.0.13. LN P2P bot version 0.10.2. Geyser version 0.8.0. Did they ever integrate Nostr on Geyser?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
They have almost... It's pretty cool, actually. They will create a pub key for you if you don't have one.
Nice.
And then they broadcast everything through Nostr. They're trying to be more of a Nostr native business.
Very nice.
Geyser's great.
Yeah. Project Spotlight. C Lark. An implementation of ARC second layer payment protocol for Bitcoin. How do they do this without CTV? Are they just, it's just sort of like a...
It uses CTV.
Oh, okay. It's not real.
Yeah. It runs on Redshift.
Okay.
Nice.
Helm Wallet. The Lightning Wallet even your grandma can use. My grandma uses COLDCARD.
My grandma uses a leather wallet with cash in it.
There you go. Smart woman. None of this fucking internet money that doesn't exist.
Look, by the time we get this shit together, like, we're going to be the grandmas and the grandpas. You don't have to focus on the grandmas. We'll age with the protocol. It'll be fine.
I made some news once by saying that the proverbial grandmother doesn't exist.
She doesn't.
People were very offended by it.
She's using a leather wallet with cash.
That's right. Okay, so before we go to Nostr, did you guys see this article that just dropped? Exclusive. NPR CO Catherine Mayer is chairman of the board for Signal messaging app, but her history as a US-backed regime change operative opposition to a free and open internet have led some critics to fear Signal may be compromised.
Yeah, like, I think Signal is great. I think it's a clear net benefit to anyone who uses it, period. Full stop.
Just assume it's being backed. It's the NSA can hear you.
I would say that, like, this started as a U.S. government funded project. They received government funding for a long time. I believe it just ended.
Well, so is Tor. So is internet.
Yeah, so is Tor. None of this should surprise you.
The spooks used to, have the most amount of mathematicians working in any single entity.
The best was, I had a live rabbit hole recap where I had Marty bring up, like, Tor projects funding transparency reports or whatever, and it was like 35% U.S. government. She's like, what? How's this happening? Live on air? So good. But just be aware.
Yes. This looks like a hit piece.
Yeah, this feels like cancel culture.
Yeah, there is something weird going on. So the Tucker Carlson people want you to use Telegram.
Signal's too good, and
Signal is a little too nice, like...
They're angry that we have, like, emojis and GIFs and shit in our encrypted messenger, and, like, too many people are using it.
But to be honest, though, if it's easy to use and it's available to everyone, it's probably backdoored. Just assume that. I
don't think so. I would unequivocally go on the record right now, and maybe I'm wrong.
You're definitely wrong. It's okay. You can go on record wrong. It's common.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, at least one of us goes on record. And I would say that I think if when it comes to targeted actors, they can hit them with Pegasus or something like that relatively easily, and then they have access to their full phone, including their whole Signal record. But I think right now what we're seeing is Signal is too good, and these are like the soft responses that happen, right? Like the random cancel culture. Having Tucker Carlson, who by the way is not a nobody, he's a guy that has probably the largest single audience of any independent broadcaster in the world. Constantly FUD Signal and then promote Telegram, which is just straight up spyware and just records everything you fucking do forever.
Remember, he applied to work for the CIA,
Yeah.
as Putin said it.
And he got the job.
Yeah, no, he didn't get the job. That's how it works, right?
Yeah. Those are the guys that get paid the most.
That's right. All right. Nostr, software release and project updates. Primo version iOS version 1.6.7. Top Zaps, fucking awesome. Love Top Zaps. I talked about it on the last episode, but now it's live. You can finally pay to say something snarky and be on somebody else's real estate. It's very, very satisfying. Note reactions, thread view, revamp.
Hey, sorry, really quick. I said Clark uses CTV. It's because I found that they were doing like push. They were pushing a no-op 4 in one of their scripts, but I just like checked out the repo and I'm clicking around. It looks like maybe they don't do CTV. It looks like maybe they're using CTV to tell you what the cost would be.
Very complicated multi-sig.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what this does. I think it might be like a big like Musig or big like pre-signed transaction thing, but I'm trying to click around and figure it out.
Well, it's always like that, right? You either have covenants or you have like the most complicated multi-sig ever made.
Yeah, CTV is like non-interactive multi-sig, right? Is like one way to think about it.
Yes.
Oh shit! More people should say that. That's actually it's a nice tidbit.
It's nice and punchy.
Exciting Primal news.
Yes.
Although I love Arcfax.
Who doesn't?
But did you know you can run Arc in an Arc?
Oh man, it reminds me of small talk.
I mean, what I was going to do is I was going to give Paul and Rijndael credit because they both stood up after they've been standing since the last time we talked about
No, I didn't stand up.
I did.
No.
Okay, well, Rijndael is.
Do you want me to stand?
You don't have to. It looks like you're standing.
I don't have like a power device. I've got to crank. I have to crank my standingness.
What's the good news about Primal?
So the Primal for its wallet uses the Strike backend, and Strike has not been able to pay Fediments this whole time, and now they can. They fixed it. So if you're on a Federation in Mutiny or in the Fedi app, and a Primal user wants to pay you, they can pay you, which is very exciting.
Yeah, that was not intentional.
Lightning continues to be interoperable. A great layer 2.
All right, and then Primo Android, they do feature parity with a bunch of stuff for iOS. And web, they also have Top Zaps, thread view revamp, and extended note reactions. NOS2X, NIP-49 support. That's cool.
Which one's NIP-49?
It's the one that does the bunker in a sec bunker.
Oh, nice.
I think
there's a lot.
There's a lot of nips between the nips, the bips, and the boats
and the blips.
The blips. I'm starting to get old, man. I think, or it's just too much like design space to pay attention to. Like it's just.
I message MVK like 3 times a week. I'm just done. I just why someone else do it?
Yeah, just tell me what to think, please. Mostro version 0.11.6 remove other unwrap and miners cosmetics NIP-40 expiration event.
Nice.
Project Spotlight, Iris Docs, collaborative document canvas chat on Nostr. That's really cool. Roaster Fediment module for signing Nostr events using Roast. That's awesome. Who knows? Maybe we see the next Frost Roast, sort of like advancements because of Nostr. Megster, Nostr-based publication platform. If people don't know, Flickster was Nostr based as well.
If those last 3 letters didn't clue you in.
I could tell because it ended with stir.
That's right. Nostr DVM, Nostr NIP-90 data of any machine framework. So we do support the DVMs on Unleashed, and nobody uses it.
Yeah.
Nothing like engineer-based engineering as opposed to demand-based engineering.
Gotta love it.
NOS Drive, experimental Google Drive relay. All right, boosts.
Wait. Just on Nostripe, like no one's actually going to use that, right?
I don't know. I mean, like,
It was top of trending yesterday. People got very excited about it.
Oh, this saves Nostr events to your Google Drive. All right, I'm here for this. I think more people should be using Google Drive superfluously.
yes.
I've got a thread going with Rob Hamilton and Alan Farrington that what we're going to do
Oh boy.
is Google Sheets has an API that lets you do per cell editing. So we're going to write an API that lets you update.
Put Bitcoin on.
No. We're going to build an L2 because it's like L2 season in Bitcoin.
Okay.
We're going to build an L2 that stores all of your token balances in a Google Sheet and then uses open timestamps to timestamp it to Bitcoin. So it's going to be like an L2 that's run entirely out of Google Sheets.
Yeah, you can't DDoS Google.
And then you guys wonder why Sailor doesn't want to fund open source developers.
This is all permissionless, requires 0 consensus changes.
But, I mean, first of all, the beauty of Bitcoin is that devs don't control Bitcoin. So regardless, when you do have the few devs that might, be building superfluous shit or stuff that you might consider attack on Bitcoin, that shit will never get merged.
It doesn't matter.
And I will say, like, all it takes is like 1 or 2 Callies or Craig Raws that make this whole thing fucking worth it. Like, all it takes is like a couple devs that really, really fucking move the needle, and everything is fucking worth it.
Yep.
And then my second point would be you can't DDoS Google. They will just cut you from the internet. So
No, they are literally half the internet.
yeah, be careful of playing with fire there. I understand the need to troll Google, but
Another great example, Matt, of a developer that makes all the difference is 0xB10C,
yeah,
who's actually he's been funded by Coinbase, Brink, Spiral, and now OpenSats.
there we go. Trifecta.
He's consistently produced amazing network monitoring tools that have real impact, that detect which mining pools are mining OFAC transactions and when a pool is not mining OFAC transactions. He did a lot of analysis around non-standard transaction usage, which is valuable to know about and what the trends are.
Steve, nice segue there. Do you want to just make your little rant?
I want to talk about, Mining Central. And then most recently, he's
Nice slip in. Impressive.
He's proven
He's a good dev.
Yeah, he's proven the FTP, basically ANT pool is more.
It's like 47% of the hash rate is like they're the mother pool. They're the asshole that all pools come out of.
What's the theory? Why are they doing it? Steve?
Why is
why?
FPPS has centralization tendencies because the pool is taking the financial risk. So if you have small hash rate and you're running FPPS, you're at a much greater risk of bankruptcy and due to bad luck than if you're larger. So if you're a small pool, and PPLNS, which is where the miners take the risk, financial risk, has basically died. Like Braiins even gave up, and now Braiins just uses Ant Pool.
Yeah.
So that's the reason for the centralization. I think another reason Ant Pool gets so much hash rate is that they're owned by Bitmain.
No, but why are they hiding it?
Well, because it's not in anyone's best interest to see 47% of the hash rate controlled by one person. So Jihan wanted to eat his cake and have it too. Like it's very clear.
Who's hiding it? Do you mean like Binance Pool and Brain?
No, why are they hiding?
Well, they have their own brand. I mean, why is it in there? I mean, I agree. It's arguably disingenuous.
It is disingenuous. It's not arguably disingenuous.
See, like my theory is it's because they want to skim. I don't know if you guys know about it, but way back, all the mining pools used to skim off the top on the hash rate shares, right? Like they don't like. It's very easy to do bad accounting on that. So maybe they're doing that because they want to show less hash rate for the actual pool itself, and they can take more of that pay.
Also, I've heard, and I think maybe on your show last week, talked about examples in the past of like Ghash. Well, miners just, once they got too big, miners left. I don't know if we're going to see a repeat of that because Bitmain has tremendous power. They have almost half the hash rate, control of that, and transaction selection, and they sell all the chips.
Yep.
So imagine you're a mine. Let's say Matt is the miner and I'm Bitmain, and then Matt says, "Hey, I want a $100 million order of mining rigs," and I'll be like, "I noticed you're not using Antpool.
Yeah.
Are you interested in switching over to Antpool? No? Okay, I'll put you on the wait list."
There's still WhatsMiner, which was founded by an ex Bitmain
same guy.
The guy who created the S9, which is arguably like the AK-47 of Bitcoin miners.
By the way, that's how all hardware works, eh? Like when somebody starts a chip, they change to the other place.
So you still have WhatsMiner, and obviously like Block is working on their own chip. But I will say that look, Jihan touched the stove. He's my favorite enemy in Bitcoin. Like by far, like the single best evil villain. We've never had a better evil villain than Jihan. But he touched the stove with Bcash, and he never went full, nuclear war. He never moved the majority of his hash to Bcash. He realized that his golden goose was Bitcoin. He lost a shit ton of money, shit ton of reputation. It set him back fucking decade. I question if he's actually going to push it to the limit. I think it was intentionally deceptive because he didn't want people to know he was 47% of the hash. I think he knew he had money to be made in terms of those types of pools, in that he could be the man in the middle there and, like MBK said, skim off the top. And it was just easy money as long as nobody knew about it. Now people know about it. We got past the halving. He knew he was going to get like incredibly lucrative blocks during the halving. He wasn't going to make any changes at that point. I mean, there was a 37 Bitcoin transaction fee block that his pool mafia mined, and then the next one after that in rapid succession. Not accusing him of anything, but it did happen that way.
But he's no longer involved with he got booted out of Bitmain.
Yeah, allegedly.
He founded
Bitdeer, publicly traded business.
No, and it's a new Bitmain. That's how they rename companies in China.
Yeah, the new Bitmain. He's involved. There's no way he's not involved. He's fucking Jihan.
I sidebar. I mean, I really like this. Like, people often don't understand how like hardware. There's very few people who understand the things, and then they are essentially how companies are built around it. Like TSMC got competition from Samsung because the guy who invented most of the processes at TSMC to make TSMC happen fled to Korea and was teaching at a university there because he had a 3-year non-compete.
His fishing boat just happened to land in Korea, and then he taught for 3 years.
That's right. It just happened. The Samsung in like 1 year becomes like the next largest thing. Pretty amazing story. I highly recommend. Oh man, if I can still find the YouTube links, I'll put on the show notes. But like, there is a guy who does a lot of mini documentaries on hardware in Asia. It's totally worth watching. So it's very, very interesting topic for everyone. Everyone should be interested in this topic. Anyways, all right. Let's mention some boosts here. Amy Fendier. 7. First, they come for your DMNs, and I did not speak out because I did not use DMNs. Then they come for your KYC free CEX, and I did not speak out. I can't read this, man. It's too dyslexic for this. It's too repetitive. Because I did not use KYC free CEX. Then they came for custodial mixers. And I did not speak because I did not use custodial mixers. Then they come for coin joins and this. Then come for me, and there was no one left to speak out for.
Can I just shout out 8 Mithrander for
his great?
He did the same exact shout out for both Serial Dispatch and Rabbit Hole Recap, all 3 shows. can't stop the signal.
Yes. Loke, I don't know. That's the correct answer. JC Denton, great panel as always. Vic, another boring week in Bitcoin. A second breakfast, great group therapy session. Thank you, sir. I agree. Ben DeFed, just sent some sats. T Makerman, thank you, NVK, Ben, Rob, and Rijndael. Yeah, the last show, the panel was much better, so that's why we get the boost. We don't have any for today. The show comes with the next show. Anyways, right. Tech tip of the day. Oh yes, the ASCII emoji, a small library that replaces certain keyboard. No, it's not a library. It's just a OS X text replacement bundle that you can install on your Mac, and then it syncs with your phone as well, so you can have proper old school emojis. Optech. Okay, so from the Optech guys, anything you guys want to discuss quickly, or shall we move on as usual? Okay, moving on as usual. Okay, Lightning Ocean launches Lightning payouts. That's huge.
Lots of Bolt 12 momentum the past.
Yeah, finally.
You love to see the non-custodial LN URL finally getting some adoption and spreading.
Yeah. I hosted an X Spaces and like a dozen app developers came on stage and all were integrating Bolt 12. So it's really nice to see momentum.
That's awesome.
You know, standards are weird that way. It's like nobody wants them until they see everybody using them. So it's always that catch-22, like, because nobody wants to waste time on something that, you know, might not catch on.
Yep. And even Strike's playing around with it.
Yeah.
And they run LND. But there's a project called LNDK, which is like a separate process you run if you're an LND wallet to be able to pay Bolt 12 invoices or offers, and then and forward Onion messages.
Very cool. This is really, really cool. NIP-104 double ratchet end-to-end encryption DMs by Jeff G. I've been screaming about.
That's what I'm talking about in a half an hour.
I know we were going to give you the shield right after I finished the sentence.
Okay, sorry.
And I've been talking about this for like 2 years now. That, you know, there's this very easy gray beard way of doing encrypted DMs that, you know, used to be called OTR, and then Signal sort of like had their own, but it uses the same principle of double ratchet algos. You just essentially use ephemeral keys.
Is it OTP? Is that different? One-time pad?
OTP. No. Sorry.
OTR.
OTR, off the record. That was the name of the standard.
How does Tucker Carlson feel about this NIP?
He's rubbing the nips. This one is really good.
Is Jeff an OpenSats grant recipient?
But not yet, I guess. So Jeff, if you are not, please reach out, because you know, if you need the bucks to make this happen more.
His GitHub bio says full-time builder of Nostr Freedom Tech supported by OpenSats.
Oh, nice. Me and MVK board members have. I was going to ask him on air,
and I probably voted on his application.
Sorry for the spoilers.
What should I ask him? You have any pressing questions for him?
Yes. So Matt is going to have him next after this show on Citadel Dispatch to talk about this NIP. You should ask him how far this is from the OTR spec, because I'm not super familiar with the Signal spec that he's similar whatever spec that he picked. I haven't read the whole thing. How far is from OTR? How he is handling the ephemeral keys between the different clients. That's super interesting to know. What kind of trade-offs are we going to see?
Right, like if I'm like talking to someone in a strudel and then I go to Damus and then I don't have my ephemeral key, so I can't see shit.
Yeah, which is fine. It's still, you know, most people are single client users and we still get some privacy, right? So like I'm okay with those trade-offs. I just want to understand the extent.
SCUs.
What else? If we have to be worried about messages in flight
Okay.
while the keys are being exchanged,
Good questions. Thank you.
and who's going to be the first client to implement this so we can see it? Like, client that people actually use, nothing that Pablo's working on. And this is super, super cool, man. Like, if this is implemented the way I hope it is, like this is a major breakthrough for Nostr.
Yeah, we need better DMs. Just like left curve IQ.
No, not just that, man. Like you can actually pass, you can have your zaps be more private. Like you can have private zaps that are actually private.
Yeah, I don't think private zaps are.
I think it's really cool.
I think that's an engineer thing. I think users want public zaps. They want the social signal that
No, for payments, for actual payments, for markets. Because
oh yeah,
the problem right now, if you're using zaps as a way to actually buy and sell data or other shit on Nostr-based markets, it would be nice if all that traffic of coordination for payment was done very privately.
right. I agree.
And burn the keys, burn the ephemeral keys after.
That's not a zap. In my opinion, a zap is inherently public, but words matter in my opinion. But
No, it's an actual technical spec.
We call them private zaps in Mutiny.
Yeah. All right. Lightning tip bot and LN tips are retiring. Kali mentioned growing human financial costs in running bot. Okay. Yeah, they cost money. Kali, if you're listening, can you please apply for an Open Sites grant? It's way overdue. Or do we already support him?
we don't.
Okay.
Actually, 1031 gave him a no strings attached grant.
Okay. So, Kali, can you please apply? We know you build, so it's a little easier. It's very easy to review an application like that. Talking about applications, I've been talking to a it's not public yet, but I've been talking to somebody. It's a person, real person. Okay, so the state of ultra easy to use single sig phone wallets is very dire, right? Like we have all these cool wallets trying to do cool shit, interesting things, but I don't think we have a very good, simple phone wallet that does no lightning. Okay, all it does is single fucking sig, very simply, to replace what Moon used to be on onboarding people onto their first seed, right? And I've been talking to somebody who may jump into that project as a FOSS project to just work on that, like make a very, very, very simple phone wallet.
Yeah, we just need a simple on-chain fucking wallet that doesn't have all the other shit in it.
Yes, thank you. That's it.
You're welcome.
So that'll be a cool open sats possible project.
Would you consider Green Wallet too complex because it has liquid and other stuff?
No.
It's a multi-sig by default. 2 of 2 multi-sig by default.
No, it's multi-sig by default. It's fucking expensive.
But that's largely
it's a mess.
It's multi-sig, but it's largely hidden from the youth.
We just need a simple PSBT wallet that connects to an Electrum server that just does the one thing. It just does it well. You can make labels.
And it shows you, yes, very simple. How wallets used to be.
Build it with BDK.
Yeah.
BDK based. With just the basics is how you get people into using PSBTs or just a local signing on chain, nothing else. And then, as the project sort of grows and gets more interesting, you can add a few other trimmings around, but the focus is simple.
My argument would be it's probably what BlueWallet started as and no longer is.
Yes. No lightning.
Yeah.
The key is no lightning.
No lightning. Can we include the Bitcoin? Can we include the Bitcoin puppet? Here comes Bitcoin.
Yes.
Maybe.
I'm pro Bitcoin puppet.
I was going to throw an item into the list here, which is
yes, please.
Here comes Bitcoin.com with the Bitcoin puppet just released a whole bunch of new stickers. So if you're using those graphics for things, there's a whole bunch of new ones.
Here comes is in the domain name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's herecomes.bitcoin.com.
Oh man, somebody's gonna make a porn version of this.
.org, excuse me.
Yeah. Rijndael is our biggest fan. You're at the top of the leaderboard. Biggest fan of the project. Thank you.
Yeah, 100% biggest fan.
Appreciated.
Yeah, no. Anyways, like I really like. I miss having that simple wallet. Like, you know, maybe it should be called Simple Wallet.
Super simple wallet. Yeah.
Super Simple Wallet. There you go. SS. No, it needs to be something that translates to a very horrendous porn thing.
I haven't used BlueWallet in a while. Like, what's the complicated thing in BlueWallet these days? Is it Lightning support?
Well, first of all, it's JavaScript.
Did they close the custodial wallet yet? Like they kept saying they were going to.
Yeah, they closed that a while ago.
I talked to someone came to the park. He's like, no, I've been using it.
So BlueWallet is actually very decent, like UX wise. The problem is there's a lot of features. There's a lot of like things going on, and you can add this kind of wallet, that kind of wallet. No, it's just one. Simple.
This is a simple on-chain wallet with coin selection and labels.
Yes.
It doesn't exist.
I tried convincing Craig many times to have somebody fork Sparrow and make into a phone UI, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Craig can't do all the things.
No, we have to clone him. We have to clone him. We have to clone Doc Hacks. We just need a cloning program.
Donate to the cloning fund at opensats.org. Our latest initiative.
I don't think so. Like people that don't participate in software like on an everyday basis, like they don't understand that like when they wave their hands about like FOSS, right? They think it's just like, you know, thousands of people doing things.
It's like our lives rely on 27 people.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Like most projects, especially the best projects, have the least amount of contributors. You know, like, and that's not a bad thing. You know.
No, but we got to support those people.
I know. We also need to clone them. All right, business and finance. No, skipping. Funding. Yes. OpenSats receives additional $21 million from Start Small.
Thank you, Jack.
AKA Jack. This donation will top up our fund's operational budget with $50 million going to general fund, $5 million to Nostr fund, $1 million to operational budget.
And to be clear, like our operational budget was incredibly lean.
Zero.
Up until this point. And it was only funded by Jack from his previous donation. This time around, Jack was kind enough to ask what we needed. And I said, like, we need to have at least some kind of cushion there because our operations budget is essentially GG full-time because the board makes no money, GG full-time and a couple part-time people. And it's like, and then you have to go out and raise again. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we could end up in a situation where you have $30 million in multi-sig Bitcoin to give out to people and no money to pay people to actually distribute it. And one of the key issues we have is we had over 600 applications this year and we didn't provide good feedback to people. And it's hard. Like, I mean, MBK wants a technical writer. Like, what about a technical emailer? Like someone who can email you and give you proper feedback on your declined application. So it's important that we have a little bit of wiggle room on the operations side. And I'm very grateful for Jack for giving the $1 million to operations fund. Obviously, I'm incredibly grateful for the 15 to general and the 5 to Nostr. But that operations piece, like, I don't think people realize, like, everything is just, it's like 35 people in a room that are like hanging on by a fucking wire, just like hoping everything works out. Like the exhaustion's real. Like people are pushing themselves to the limit.
That's how the best technologies run.
Yeah, this is the future of finance, folks.
Otherwise, you end up with Mozilla.
Yeah, it's the future of finance.
No, but you know the board does earning to people bitching on Nostr that they didn't get approved because the corporate people.
I'm very grateful to have the pleasure of being the product of many conspiracy theories now.
But see, the problem is, Matt, like you talk about your votes publicly, which you shouldn't.
I rarely talk about my votes publicly.
No.
I don't think votes should be public. I think there's a reason why there's a secret ballot. But I think people should get their priorities in order and focus on who their real enemies are. And I'm not asking people to blindly trust me.
Sparrow is the enemy.
Clearly. Obviously. That's why we had Steve on, because you got to keep your enemies close.
That's we're gonna get to him. We're gonna get to him. OpenSats grant long-term support for Shashwat Vangani,
Bolt 12.
Bolt 12.
Let's fucking go.
Sparrow News. Steve is the enemy. Renews grants to Bitcoin Xavier and Matt Morehouse. Steve?
Care to comment?
Yeah. Matt Morehouse might not be a household name, but he has been doing several years of really good work in Lightning. He does focus on fuzz testing for LND and CLN. And I think he's adding LDK now because he sees enough usage of LDK to warrant his time. But, he's found a number of critical flaws in CLN and LND. So that's a underinvested area, just quality testing and finding vulnerabilities.
Steve, do you want to I think from time to time is nice that we remind people what these orgs are about and a little bit of just their, I wouldn't say get into operations or anything, but just people understand, OpenSats runs with this, there's no funds for the board and it's 9 people that vote and we have the committees for things. And that's kind of how we do that. And the mandate is very narrow, right? It's just Bitcoin, Nostr, and
any open source project,
privacy things related. Anyways, it's a somewhat narrower. It's still somewhat related to Bitcoin. Anyways, point is that we have that in the how the thing is run, right? Talk us a little bit about Sparrow, if you don't mind.
Sure. Sparrow has a full-time team. There are 12 of us, 9 of whom are engineers. Largely, the full-time team is largely focused on LDK development, but we have a couple that work on Bitcoin Core and privacy projects. And then we have a grant program, and we've given grants to over 50 developers across 20 countries the past 4 years. And that spans about a dozen different projects. The scope, though, is even narrower than what you just said for OpenSats. We don't, Nostr is not in scope. Love Nostr, but it's just not in our scope. Bitcoin's within scope. So, I think one thing is across different orgs, like Chaincode and Brink are largely Bitcoin Core focused. Spiral's a lot broader. And then OpenSats is even a little bit broader. But our grants, Connor Okus is on the team. It's largely the two of us vet grant applications and decide. When something's beyond our technical means, we'll reach out to different devs in the space to get to learn more. But to Matt's point, it is a lot of effort to do a good job. Because as everyone here knows, there's a lot of technical projects and proposals in this space. And it's really hard for one person to have the technical depth to understand which projects are important and potentially impactful. So
yeah, the resources are scarce, right? There's quite a bit nowadays, but still, you can't just approve everything. So and it's hard to dedicate the time to review things, especially on a technical level, right? To understand, if it's possible, if the person can build it, is it a thing that's going to do good?
Yeah, and there's been a few who have applied to Spiral, and we said no, and they went on to do great things. So good for them. We're not perfect. We don't have a perfect signal, but we also, another thing I like about the program, what we've done, every one of our grantees, or all but one or something like that, the vast majority are first time funded for open source Bitcoin development. So it's been a goal to bring in more talent to Bitcoin. So when we got started,
oh shit,
we didn't want to just go hire Greg Maxwell, Peter Wola, and all the top devs in the space. We wanted to bring new people into the fold.
You like the virgins,
and they've gone on yeah, sure. And we have 15 or more alum from the program who have
so many bad comments I can make right now. So many
found their own Bitcoin companies or joined Bitcoin companies full time. So
sorry, Steve, I love you.
Listen, you want to build the best soccer team that's going to win the World Cup. It's get fresh talent that are not over their heads and put together a team of young people.
Out of all the comments, that's the one you went with. Got it.
Yeah, I had to go very divergently from where my head went. Yeah. Sorry, guys. I wanted to go back to the Mostro update because I forgot that is a P2P coin join thing that these guys are trying to build using Nostr for coin join coordination.
I think Nostr is like, obviously, it's part of the solution in terms of Bitcoin privacy. In terms of the communication part,
it's great. You have two projects that have no privacy, Bitcoin and Nostr.
They're both actually horrible for your privacy.
That's right.
But together, they could be the solution.
You know, I've been fighting with people on Twitter a lot about this, on trying to explain why Bitcoin cannot have privacy on chain, right? Like, and you know, a lot of these people are not technical, so like you can't just sort of say, you know, because of this.
But Snowden asked for it.
No, it's not that. It's like, it's integrity, right? Integrity needs to be public. It needs to be the opposite of private, right? So you have to prove that integrity, right? There's no just belief in integrity. So Bitcoin and Nostr are fully public, and you do all the things in Bitcoin and Nostr publicly, right? Like every single transaction is public, and that's how you account the system. So we can't have privacy on chain. Sorry, Snowden. You know, we're gonna have to do that on a second layer for you.
You liked how I'll take full ownership of this. Like I just quoted Snowden's tweet because he didn't post it on Nostr, and I just signed it Snowden. So it wasn't me who said it. It was him who said it. And then I just signed out of Nostr for about 36 hours. let you guys fight about it.
Yeah, no, it unfortunately, like,
you're welcome.
You know, Snowden and a lot of these guys, they have a very pedestrian understanding of Bitcoin, which is unfortunate because they're just gigantic names, and they're people who are trying to do good, and you know, people who understand things technically. So, you know, they give very poor commentary on Bitcoin, and then confuses people even more. How come can this hero of Bitcoiners say, you know, something that is wrong?
Well, this has been an argument that has predated Bitcoin all the way to the cypherpunk movement, right? Which is,
yes,
and Satoshi Satoshi sent a wave that rocked the cypherpunk movement in terms of their core principle has always been private transactions. And he was like, we can actually do this thing, but like you don't get privacy.
Exactly.
And a lot of cypherpunks missed the boat on Bitcoin early on because they thought it couldn't work because it didn't have privacy baked in. So this is not a new argument. I will throw it out to the ride or die Bitcoin review people that happen to be with us 2.5 hours into this show.
I mean, the Venn diagram of those two audiences is about 100%.
I am not supporting this change, but confidential transactions do break inscriptions. So consider it.
Yeah, no, it's hard. I mean, like, you know, there is this funny, for example, Greg Maxwell. He talks about hardware wallets in a very poor manner in 2014 when hardware wallets were absolute garbage. And then people like the spooks or, you know, JWs or whatever crazy person that hates hardware wallets brings it up. Like, look, Greg Maxwell says hardware wallets are bad. You know, there is this very fascinating, Eternal September conversations in Bitcoin where people try to use this sort of like arguments that are no longer valid or arguments that are like, you know, things that you can't do in Bitcoin. They bring it from the past, and they try to make this very sort of unfitting technical observations. But anyways,
I'm getting an action item for me to follow up with Greg to get him to update his hardware wallet review.
Yes, on Reddit. I think you can still edit the post
and get him to bless certain.
Greg's gonna be like, everyone use BigKey.
That's right.
Yeah.
and then Steve's gonna report back. He's like, I got him to do the thing.
That's right. Anyways, all right. I'm not gonna go through this.
I have another podcast.
Matt, the other podcast can wait.
I mean, like Jeff is waiting. I'm not a podcaster.
He can just join and we can do another 2 hours here.
The only podcaster on this stream right now is Paul.
I have to make material improvements to a software projects.
Yes.
I have to go post more "Here Comes Bitcoin" stickers all over Twitter.
Oh God, Rijndael, where do you find the time to read papers and be on Twitter at the same time?
Okay, we know Rijndael has his priorities in order because he read MicroStrategy's KYC on the blockchain spec at a bar at 2 a.m. So we know his priorities are in order.
Yes,
that's right.
All right, boys. Final thoughts, Mr. Odell.
Stay humble, stack sats.
Rijndael.
Stay humble, stack sats.
Steve.
Stay tuned for Here Comes Bitcoin initiatives that are going to really wow you, MBK.
Okay, I'm going to be wowed. All right.
It's going to be great.
Mr. Paul.
Opcat.
Stay humble, stack cats.
Up dog. Listen, guys, thank you so much for coming and like, doing group therapy for 2.5 hours. This was very useful to somebody, I hope. Listen, nobody listens to the end. So you can say anything you want right now. The certainty there's full privacy now. Even the NSA is no longer listening. So with that, everybody have a wonderful day.
Peace.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks for listening. For more resources, check the show notes. We put a lot of effort into them. And remember, we don't have a crystal ball, so let us know about your project. Visit bitcoin.review to find out how to get in touch.